Hey, Long Haul Larry, and I'm down here working some more on this F350. Gonna start on the front end. We have a special guest star, the Drunk Carpenter. He's even got a t-shirt. He's even got his fancy t-shirt on. And he brought me a fancy beer twisting, what is this called? An IPA?
No, it's a sour beer.
It's a sour beer.
So I saw this at one of the breweries. Larry's favorite candy is Sour Patch Kids. And I saw that there is a Sour Patch Kids beer.
A friendly warning from the folks of Linesdale. Due to the large amount of real fruit added after fermentation, this beer can still continue to ferment in a can and could rupture if not kept cold and not consumed immediately. Contains lactose. Very, very funny. So he brought this and he says I need to try this. Sorry, you're supposed to, it's like red or something.
Yeah. Pour it in the glass so everyone can see.
Ooh. Ooh. Let's see what this looks like. Grapefruit juice.
Good pouring skills.
You like that? I don't make any bubbles. Is that not a fancy?
Ooh.
Not a fancy.
You gotta tilt it. Yeah. There you go.
I think mine looks better. So it's red. Oh, oh, there's something floating in it.
Yeah, it's the fruit.
There's actual fruit in here.
Yeah, it's a fruit mash.
Do I really want to be healthy drinking beer or eating fruit? Alright, let's see what this is. That is just awful. That tastes nothing like a Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah, it's sour like a Sour Patch Kid.
No, that tastes nothing like a Sour Patch Kid. No, that is just horrible.
Not so bad though for a secondary.
I just want to make sure. Oh man, that is horrible. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll pass. Puckered Patch Slushy. So you're supposed to freeze this or what?
No, just enjoy it like this.
Oh, enjoy. Yeah.
I don't know, you keep drinking it, so I think it's growing on you.
No, it's not. That's really horrible. Enough of that for that foolishness stuff.
I'm glad I could buy it for you.
Yeah, that is just horrible. You should ask for a refund. But I gotta start tearing apart this truck and getting to work. So snuff playing, drinking, goofy. Here it is. That's nasty stuff. Don't do that. Very bad. He's still drinking it. He's acting like it's good, but it's not.
Yum.
Yum. But I gotta get this cab off of here so I can get to the motor and the tranny. So I gotta get to work. Well, guys, got this thing pretty torn apart. You actually don't need to take all this apart to lift this cab off. Now, if I had a lift that you could put the vehicle on a lift and, you know, you lift the vehicle up, you've seen those big hydraulic lifts, you know, in garages and stuff. I wouldn't need, it would be very easy actually. You just take all the motor mounts out, disconnect the wires and everything, and it lifts off, and it lifts off with the fenders. The whole front end will lift off, everything with the radiator and all this stuff. It can be a pain in the butt. You'd have to take the fan off, but you can get it. I've actually I've heard of that seen that actually haven't done with lifting this cab off. I don't have one of those lifts. I did think about buying one, but I'm not going to. It's just money wise right now. But I've gotten this all pretty much, and the thing is that I've taken all the front end off. The main reason why is because a lot of this I'm going to be replacing anyways, and this is going to make it a lot easier to get to it. The condenser is going to be replaced. The radiator is going to be replaced. The charge air cooler is going to be replaced. It's all sitting over there. The transmission cooler actually is new. That's sitting right there. That's actually just been put on here not that long ago. But a lot of this stuff is going to be replaced. And the thing is all the lines, you can see them down there. Those the power steering go down to this cooler here, the power steering cooler. You can see how rusted those are, you know. And you guys remember, I just had an issue with a power steering line on this thing. This one right here. I ended up having to get that whole hose and everything. And you know, the thing, it's rusting. This truck has to be taken care of now. It has to be, the rust has to be stopped. It has to be all cleaned up, repainted, and all this. And if it isn't, the truck is just going to go real fast. So when I pull this all off and everything, I'm going to leave the front clips on this and everything. All there is 2 bolts. They're right down here. You can kind of see it right there. I'm pointing right at it. There's a nut right there that comes off. There's one on the other side. There's 2 that are underneath the dash that kind of come in an angle. And then there's 2 behind the front seats on the floor. And then there's 2 behind the back seat, the full-size back seat. You fold that forward and there's 2 bolts back there. And so you take all those bolts loose and this cap is loose. Then what I'm going to be doing is driving this up into the barn. It still is drivable. It has no coolant or nothing, but everything is still connected. I do not need a battery connected over here. I have 2 batteries, and it will start on just the one. I've done this before at my house. I actually drove into town. I had this all pulled apart, and I drove into town for some O-rings like this with only 1 battery in it, and it works fine. But the coolant and stuff I have all drained out of it and everything. The only thing is the transmission lines. If I fire this thing up, it's going to throw transmission fluid everywhere. But what I did is I just took a hose and I tied it to one line where the transmission line comes up and put it to a return line. So the oil should all stay in there. So it's all pretty much ready to go. And now I have to go and start MacGyvering the whole lift that I'm going to put together. All right, guys, this is my idea. Okay, so I have this barn. After doing all this has taken me about a day of doing this and everything. I think I probably should have made something different. I should have made something that made out of metal beams and that I could take apart and stuff, you know, for future. But because it'd be nice to have a big lift thing, big stand and everything that I could take apart and actually take with me, but it's fine. I would basically call this a poor man's lift right here. So I got these big, huge beams that are in this barn. These beams are very old, but they're huge. And the strength coming down is a lot. And I was planning on just mounting, you can see the winches. And I was planning on mounting the winches on the beam and just have them come down at an angle. But I started thinking about that, and I thought that's going to be a lot of force. The 2 winches are going to fight against each other, and it might pull those beams in. And there was no cross member beam up in here in the barn. And so I did a lot of contemplating about it. I don't want to crack one of these beams or bust one of these beams in here and knock this barn down or something, you know. I don't want to be that guy in the family that knocks the barn down. But what I did is I went and got a 6x6. And I cut it to length and used ropes and everything else and got it up there. Took some big angle iron and put some big, huge leg bolts into those beams and made a base for the beam to sit on. And then I anchored an angle iron into the beams. Then I bit big legs in through the big beam into the 6x6, and that thing is secure. And then I took some treated 2x6s and just put them out there for stabilizers. That beam is up there. That thing is there. And then what I did is I have bought these 2 winches. These are 3,000-pound winches. I thought about going to 4,500-pound winches, but you know, I looked up the total weight of the vehicle, and an F350 is around 7,200 pounds, it says. Well, you got to figure the motor is going to be a couple thousand pounds. The transmissions, you know, probably 1,000 pounds. I don't know, but they're pretty heavy. But a lot of the weight's that, and the frame, the rear ends, and all that stuff. I don't think this body is going to weigh more than 1,000, maybe 1,500 pounds. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But what I've done is, instead of mounting it on the beams, I thought that might pull kind of weird on the truck when I lift it up. And what I'm doing is I'm going to make some braces or something on the bottom of the truck that I can hook these to, and then I have them individually wired up. And then what I did is I hooked them up like this, and I got this block of tackle type thing and set up. And this will actually add strength to lifting power, to the lifting power of the winch. And I think this is going to do just fine. I actually have the 2 chains up there that are attached where the cables are mounted onto the beam. I actually have those. There's lines on there. And those are about 2 inches wider. Oh, hi, Kitty Cat. What's up, Kitty? He's a farm cat, lives out here. And ever since my mom's been gone, I've been feeding him, so he's my buddy. He's following me around. But I have those 2 chains hooked up, and they're about 2 inches wider than the truck. And then I have the winches out further than that. And then basically, I hooked them both together in series, both of them. And they seem to be lifting at different rates. It could be because the 2 motors, maybe one has more, has another winding or 2 or more than the other. So it's operating at different speed. Could be because all the power was going to that one and then it was being relayed through a wire over to this one. I don't really know, but I could see that they were operating at different speeds. And that would pick up the cab at an angle, and we don't want that. We want to be able to pick it up straight. So I had to wire them up separately. And then basically, I just have the winch, hit the right button, and you can see it, and I hit it. Then that'll lift it. And I'll just do it on each side and just kind of go back and forth and lift the thing up. And then once I get it lifted and get it high enough to get the frame out, then I will, then I'm going to lift it up, roll the frame out, and then I'm going to build a frame out of some wood and stuff that will sit up underneath it, that will keep it up high enough so I can get underneath it, sandblast it, paint it and everything. And I'm actually going to put some dollies underneath it, and then I can wheel it back there until I'm ready for it. And then when I'm ready for it, I'll wheel it back up, hook it back up to the things, lift it, back the frame underneath, drop it on. I would call this a poor man's car lift right here. But I paid about $100 for the beam and all the hardware, all the big leg bolts and all that stuff. About $100. And those 2 winches, I paid $129 a piece for them. Well, guys, we got her in there, and I lifted it up, and I lifted it up about an inch and a half or so, and I did it last night, and I had the truck turned around the other way, and I lifted it up about an inch and a half, and I let it sit all night long. I wanted to make sure nothing was going to break. And I'm going to tell you that the main areas that I was worried about breaking was this right here. Was this block and tackle deal. There is just like a pin that's in between there. And all that weight is sitting on the pin of this whole cab. And it's just like smushed over, to hold it in there so it can swivel. I didn't like it. I wasn't confident. That's the only weak point in this whole thing. And it held all night long. And I came out here and I started to look at things to get ready to start taking things apart and disconnecting hoses and everything. And then I started looking at this, and this here frame rail that goes along the bottom, that's going to be coming off with the cab. And I had it turned around the other way. And that comes off with the cab, and I'm like, wow, that is going to have to go all the way up over that motor, because it was turned around the other way, for me to pull this way. And that's really high. I mean, that's 3 to 4 feet. And I was like, wow, that's really high. And I started looking at it more, and I thought, well, if I turn the truck around, all I got to do is pick it up about 1.5 feet to get the body up over the top of the motor, and then I could take it out backwards. So I started the truck back out and backed it and drove it in here like this. And this is better. And it just got to me about that deal. And I decided to go and buy a better block and tackle. This one is a lot stronger. It's actually rated for 3,000 pounds and all that stuff. And that's what it said on there. It's made for the Tough Tug, it says. And I feel much more confident with this. And all right, guys, we got everything disconnected. Wasn't thinking. There's a connector that's right behind that frame member. That's for the emergency brakes. And the wire just comes out of there, and you just take a punch and just punch it back. It's got a little clip that holds it in the hole there for the frame mount. I'm gonna have to move up a little bit. Excuse me. So got that all off. Got everything disconnected over here. All the wire harnesses are all laying down there by the tire. You can see me pointing at them right now. That's all off. The main wire harness to the engine is off. That harness there runs back to the back of the cab and all that stuff. Back to everything in the rear end, the transmission to rear axle to the lights back there and everything. And I have everything disconnected. I have all the deal, everything disconnected that needs to be disconnected. Well, guys, it's time. We're gonna lift this thing up. I ran to town to get something. I built a really nice stand to go on right there, and I went to get these car mover things. You can put them underneath your car tires and then push your car sideways and stuff and put it, you know, roll it around inside your garage to store it away. I'm gonna put it underneath the little stand that I made, and that way I'll be able to push this whole cab around when I need to. So I'm gonna be lifting this thing up, and I'm basically just gonna stand clear. If it goes, it goes. And I feel pretty confident about it, but I'm still gonna stand clear, because if that thing falls, it's gonna be bad. I don't know if it falls. It's been staying up all by itself all afternoon. I've been running around town. I go get some gas for this thing. Got these little car hauler things, and yeah, they smell like communism, but hey, they'll work for this, you know. But and it's been staying up all fine and everything, but yeah, it's a lot for this going on. We'll see if it works out. But I got everything hooked up, and I'm just gonna go back and forth and raise it up little by little until it gets high enough to clear the motor in the front end, and then I'll be pulling the chassis out with the tractor. And once I get that clear, then I'm gonna put my stand underneath it, and there's gonna be just a little while where it's gonna be way up in the air like that. So we're gonna see how this works out. So hopefully it doesn't fall, because if it does, it could be the end of this truck. Well, guys, we got her down here in the shop. Here is the chassis of it. And got her down here in the shop. And the next stage will be starting to tear apart the motor. Tear off everything off of it, the wire harness, and then start tearing all the exterior parts off the motor. I can tell you right now, that header right there is going to be a booger to get out of that. Those bolts in there, whew, they're going to be trouble. I already know this. I'll probably end up having to get a new header. The rest of the pipes look really good. There was some leaking going on right here. Some exhaust leak here and under here and right down here. That's just gaskets. But I can't figure out where it's leaking. I don't think it's the... I don't know. I don't think it was the oil return from the turbo. There's something leaking right in here, down in this area. Somewhere down in there. And... no big deal. We're going to tear apart and rebuild everything. Over here, you could see that whoever had this before, they had the header off of there. They actually put all new bolts in, and they had this header off. They might have replaced the pipes and stuff back there because the pipes look really new. But yeah, so not terrible bad. It was kind of a bugger getting it in here. I'll end up having to replace the shifter assembly on here. Just like every Ford, you know, you have to hold the shifter up against there, and then when it goes in the drive, it's kind of a finicky thing to get it right in there. Those go bad. But I will be tearing the I'll take the motor out, and I've already been in contact with some people about inspecting it, machining it, rebuilding the heads, inspecting the crank and everything. Trying to find that right person. And I'll be dropping that off. But then also I'm going to be taking the transmission in and a transfer case. I'm going to take that all into a transmission shop. I'm not a transmission guy. Yes, I could mess with it, and I probably could figure it out, but guys, I don't want to mess with it and then turn around and have to tear it back out. That would be not fun. Could be done. I mean, it could be done out of here. You just have to take this main brace out that goes across, and it looks like there's just 3 bolts there, and that whole brace will drop out, and you can get the transmission off. So there is actually room, but I don't think that I want to mess around with it. I am not a transmission expert at all. Motors I can understand and everything, and I've done quite a few of them. I have done one transmission once. I tried to do a rebuild on it on an automatic, and it tore it all apart, and it never worked after that. I'll be honest with you, that's why I've learned a lot of things. Just doing it and then doing it again and again, and until I figured it out and everything else. That was before YouTube days, you know, when you could just look up stuff and figure it out. But that's how I learned how to do all this stuff. But, you know, all the work I'm putting in, I think I'm just going to drop it off. I'm going to drop it off to a transmission shop, have them go through it, rebuild the transmission, and go through the transfer case and make sure everything is all up to par, everything is good. And that way when it goes back in there, we're good to go. It's not terribly bad. It may look real rusty and stuff, but it's not. It's actually very solid metal and everything. The frame is actually in good. It's just surface rust. But this here, oh boy, I've been hearing this. You ready? That's really bad. That whole yoke is just, it's turned. I'm going to have to get a whole new end on the drive shaft. I'm going to take the drive shaft and take it in and have them cut off the end and put a whole new end on there for the yoke and everything. It's gone. It's too far gone. But I've been hearing this clinky noise, and I thought it was in a transfer case or something. I have inspected. I thought I have looked underneath here and looked at this stuff, but boy, I didn't see that. And like I said, I think in the past video, is I just had the throwout bearing done, and the guy before me had it done too. Now, it seemed to go out a lot. Well, that's why. Oh, well, life goes on. But I'll show you what's going on up in the barn. And then there's this. I'm going to tell you guys right now, that was probably one of the more sketchy things I've done. I will not recommend anybody to try this the way that I did this. In putting winches up there and lifting it like this. Did I accomplish it? Yes. Was it sketchy? Oh boy. So sketchy. It's, I built this here, I don't know what you want to call it, but I built this here for this thing to sit up here and sit on here so I could get up underneath there. I'm going to be sandblasting it, and it's actually really good. The metal is actually really good. It is not bad underneath there at all. I was very surprised, actually. So it's just going to be a quick sandblast and then prime it and then paint it and then I'll undercoat it. And so there's not really a lot of work to do here, but it is sitting on there now, but it also has the assistance of the winches on it holding it, and it's wobbly. I built it too high for one thing, I think. I think I should have built it lower. I'm going to put some cross bracing with some 2x4s around it to stabilize it and stuff. But I put those wheels underneath there, and I was planning on pushing it back in there. I'm actually going to leave it right here. There's still enough room. The only thing really needs to come out of here is like my brother's snowmobile back there and stuff, and he can get it out. There's enough room for him to get by here. And I really don't want to move it around. I bought those things to wheel it back there with, but I really don't want to do it, guys. I'm afraid it's just going to fall. So I'm going to leave it right here and work on it right here. And then when it's time when I get the motor and the frame all done and everything, and I go to roll this back up in here, I'll just lift it off of there, pull this out, and then push the truck frame back right underneath it, and then put it straight down onto it. It's just, yeah, it was sketchy. It was really super sketchy. I could not get it to balance whatsoever. It was really scary, actually. I actually cut up some chunks of old wood here, and I had it tilted a little bit forward, and then I stuck them up underneath the front here, and that kind of held it into place and stuff. And I just did it as fast as I could, and I'm actually really surprised it worked. That didn't fall. When I put this back on, I'm going to have to get some help and get this thing dropped on there and stuff, because it was sketchy. But I am very sore. My back is toast right now, and I'm actually going to take a day or two and try to just relax and ice and just try to recover before I get working on all this and everything. And so I'm actually going to be taking a little bit of time off and seeing if I can get this all done. But I mean, you can see, because it started to rust here, and it started to rust here, and I peeled the peen off here. I think I did this last spring or something, and I put this stuff on. It was called SP15, and you put it right over rust, and it like eats into it and bonds with the metal. It really has worked well. Now that it started to chip here, I mean, this is really, if you just rub this rust right here, you'll get right to bare metal. So it's not bad. It's in pretty good shape, but I'm going to be sanding all this stuff down anywhere to bare metal and knocking them down and then coating it and everything, and then I will be repainting this whole truck. There's a little bit down in this corner and in there, and then there's a couple brackets and stuff that are rusty and stuff, but otherwise it's really good. It's really good shape. And the thing is, I know that some people are going to say, why in the world are you putting all this work into this truck? Well, yesterday when I was in town getting those roller things, there was a Ford dealer there. I drove up and they had basically an F350, and it had the 8-foot box on it, which it was a 2019. I guess now they don't even make these with the 8-foot boxes on it, which I don't get. I mean, why would you have a truck that doesn't have an 8-foot box? I mean, that's what's that called, you know? I mean, that's not a truck, it's me. But I need an 8-foot box, and mainly it's for carrying my snowmobiles and stuff. And I don't believe you can even get them now, but this thing was a 2019, and I looked at it, and it was in really good shape. Had 43,000 miles on it, and it had, for a price tag, it was $82,000. And that was a 2019, and that had a 6.7 liter in it, which has all the emission junk in it, which you're going to have problems with and everything else. This got the 7.3 liter diesel engine in it, which was pre-emission and everything else. I get this one fixed up. I mean, I've never had problems with it or nothing. Now, you know, once in a while I had a little issue, but just main stuff, mechanical stuff, but I'm going to fix everything now. But I'll never have problems with sensors or all this other junk. And so, you know, I fix this thing up. I mean, I'll be able to put another 350,000 miles on it, no problem. So that's why I'm fixing these up, because new trucks are just outrageous. I mean, a brand new truck, a base model with nothing in it, an F350, you're looking at $80,000, $90,000. That's just insane. I mean, you can buy a nice house for that. So yeah, so that's why I'm fixing this one up. And plus, I just want to make it into what I want. So there you go. So I'm going to let you guys go, but I'm going to tell you, Don't do what I did with these wenches and stuff. This was sketchy. But I'm going to tell you guys that I hope you guys have a great day, great night watching this here video. And if you're not, I guess certainly just try that all over again tomorrow. I'll catch you guys later. I need a break for a day or two.